Well, hopefully the other video is going to upload. I still haven't uploaded my VR180. I did the conversion, and while I was doing the conversion, I was beating off, and pretty much the entire day, the entire Saturday, pretty much edging all day. And I don't do that. I used to do it a lot. Now it's just like with me, it's like there was a time I was so I was kind of like living off my father, and I wanted work, but with any kind of addiction, you can't pursue doing productive stuff because you'd always want to do the addiction. And so, for the earlier, when my brother decided to take me and throw me in an apartment in Houston, and with all of like a third of our house in my apartment, with this clutter, I lived a kind of an existence that you would have seen in documentaries where people are stuck in a house and basically there's trash to the roof, and um, you're just not dealing with upkeep and masturbating all the time. Just and because that was the drug of choice. It's a safe drug. The government, the policemen won't put you in jail for that. So for me, it was incredibly secure and easy. And what created the pattern of abuse is this: I'd play video games, I'd get a victory, I'd get a high from the victory. It would make me feel justified. Then I would turn around, do the sin, come back and do the video game, and then the sin, and the video game, and the sin, back and forth. And the video game is really to get the social interaction that you desire because you have no friends and there's nobody around you to because, well, in my case, I'm just not a very sociable guy, so I don't go out and form friendships. So for me to I mean, I've been pretty much alone by myself, pretty much friendless ever since I was in college. And I mean, in school. And that's the thing is the minute you leave school, unless you're working somewhere, which would have been the solution had I been working in college. Um, Actually, it's been since I was in the dot coms, so about 20 years or so. Uh, and my parents, the doctors told them, and this is the big concern, is the doctors said he needs to be around people. This is not, I mean, that's kind of the survival mechanism here, is he needs to be around people. Because otherwise he's just basically going to be going crazy by himself, but not to the same degree that, say, oh, you heard about celebrities such as the girl that was in The Shining, who was also in Popeye, and she lives in a town, and the people of that town are very protective of her. If she wasn't a celebrity, she'd be something a little bit like me, but she probably, I don't know. I don't know. I'm don't feel like I'm crazy. I'm just so introverted. And the thing that's really funny about this is that I'm the human podcast. I'm the guy that just generates content. And it's possible that the people that watch me are needing are desperate for either surreality, non-reality, something else different, hopefully. or to try to make sense of what's going on that just doesn't seem real. And if the Lord sees that as my mission, or and I'm for last night, I had a bout. It probably was a necessary bout. It's what led to the edging today, and hopefully the thing on Sundays is I really don't feel like I there's a chance that I could fall into the addiction and do it all day, which is, according to my religion, is not something I should do on a Sunday. You should keep the Sabbath holy. You should try as best as possible to be holy, to be sinless, and to just rest and do something productive like art or music, or what would probably end up me just be sitting here doing this perpetual evangelism, or just talking and talking and talking and talking and talking. It would probably be to my advantage to probably talk into a recorder, but the problem I'm dealing with right now is the lack of interaction with people, and the metaphysical is constantly trying to keep me from having any kind of contact with people. It's constantly trying to keep me from having any interaction with anybody, trying to keep me in myself. And either that is a destructive force, or it's a force that is trying to mold me into something of a source, a broadcast source, or something that needs something that will make sense of the will find the will explore the mystery, find the novelness in what's happening, and escape all of the fictional surreal bullshit that's going on YouTube and all the social media, where people are trying to escape their realities and are also kind of going crazy, trying to make sense of their life, make sense of the future. And the metaphysical is really kind of saying to me, you need to help these people find a way. That's kind of the feeling I get. And it's kind of like, well, I don't want to. I want to go over and do these other things. And then it's kind of like, no, fucker, you're going to do it. And that's kind of the feeling I'm getting. I'm being literally pushed into it. I'm not. And they're giving me an ultimatum. One is you try to create something, or you fall into your sin and you're fucked. But not fucked from a financial point of view, just fucked because I'm going to be alone, and I'm not going to have anything fun in my life. I'm not going to, and this, it's kind of like whenever I was working as a bagger, people, I would sing in the lot, and it was because they wouldn't permit us to have MP3 players. Because if you had an MP3 player and you had your headphones on, you could not tell the difference between what was making sound in your headset and what was making sound on the lot. And so with the lack of the ability to hear the cars around you, you could get into real trouble. You could get run over. And the company doesn't want the legal implications that come from that, so they don't permit you an MP3 player. So in order to cope with that idea, I came to the idea that I could still sing the songs. And then I thought, how many people like actually learn the lyrics to the songs, and I did something I never thought I could ever do, and that is I started learning a lot of the songs that I love, and I developed this repertoire of like 60 plus songs, and now I can't understand in how in the world I ever could uh, how I could ever go through life thinking that I never had the capacity to be a musician, because that is a kind of that it's kind of like, in another way, I'm being forced to becoming the thing that I dreamed about as a kid. But it's like no, I don't want to go there. I've tried it a million times. It's always been a failure. It's so fucking boring. Making music, it takes all day long. And then I'm watching documentaries about ABBA, and they said we would make about 5 songs a year, and we really focused on it. I was like, I thought it took them a lot less time to make music. Why should they spend so much time working on a 3 minute song or a 4 or 5 minute song? And I'm coming to the reality that making music is not as fucking easy as it is that I thought. And but I still, to me, it's so much more fun to make a program. And programs that actually take a lot, about just as long as music. The Rock Me Amadeus, the source code that goes behind it, took me a year or so, and it looks fairly simple, but it's relatively complex, and I've experienced making animations, and it's the same damn thing. It For 3 or 4 minutes, you could spend a whole year working on that animation, and people are kind of like, how long it took you? And you say like a year, and they're completely astounded because they expect it would probably take not much longer than 3 minutes to make it. And you bring artists into that kind of reality. We had a guy in our animation class. Uh, his name was I forgot his name. This is a Japanese kid, long hair. Um, Used to always call me K Dog, and he wanted to make. He had, I mean, he was the type who watches lots of anime, cartoons, and knows all the superheroes and talks on and on and on. And he had this plan that he was going to create this whole movie with all these anime characters and stuff like that, which you can probably do now with Anacast inside of the Oculus headsets, because you can do mocap. And this is something I've been telling people, is that those controllers are get are have the advantage of providing mocap, and now with AI they can actually recognize the rotations of the joints and stuff. There's a great potential for children to do this kind of things that this guy wanted to do quickly, and came to the realization that we didn't have a mocap suit. All you had was a mouse and inverse kinematics, and he ended up not ever understanding how to create the objects, how to put the skeletons in the objects, and working with the skin groups and rigging and all that kind of stuff that is so boring. And he ended up taking a character that was already in the software, and I think it really had a lot more to do that he just had so many other classes that he expected he would be able to do a lot in the class and was not able to do as much as he thought. And the difference between me and him is that because of my learning disability, I could not um, have more classes. I would have the animation class and then 2 other classes. So I'd spend practically all day in the computer lab helping other artists as well as doing my own project. And so I got to learn a lot more. And I was looking at him and I was like, there's no way you're going to produce all that stuff you're talking about. And I went through the same sort of thing whenever we tried to have a project to make an animation. And then we brought in uh, Ash Brandon of Pixar. He was coming in to visit. And he sat down and he looked at our storyboard and he said, there's no way you're going to make this, to the whole class. And our teacher was saying, oh, you can't be serious. So we got it all down. We're going to do it. And he was right. We didn't do it. And so after that experience, I tried to make a few more animations. Then I came to realization this is not something I want to do with my life. I don't want to make animations. I want, and that was the end of that. And that's kind of my experience with everything that I do, is that the only thing that's going to be of any good is what I'm doing right now, which seems to be analyzing, watching documentaries, analyzing stuff that's happening, analyzing documentaries, trying to make sense of stuff, and writing, not reading, um, because I don't get much from books. They're so fucking boring, and there's they're not a really good source of information, not a very good way of expression. It's just like they say, a picture's worth 1,000 words. But people are fucking bored by long drawn out videos that don't cut, that don't have multiple camera views from different angles. And VR 180 might fix that problem because you get completely immersed. You have other things to look at in the room. With a frame like this and this, and you've probably experienced this with Zoom, and I've heard this about Zoom, is that it gets boring, you fall asleep, you can't do it for long periods of time. But what we've experienced with VR is you can, if you're immersed in it. If you're immersed in a reality where you're with other people, it's a whole lot easier than using this format, which fucking sucks for dealing with other people. And might be okay for this, for one headshot, but when you've got a bunch of other people on little video screens, it may seem like you can work that way, but you're going to get tired of it, and you're going to be like, you want to come to the meeting, you're going to be like, fuck no, that I can't stand this shit anymore. But if you did VR, if you got everybody in your company to get VR, and wherever they are, you came together, and I would suggest not coming into AltSpace, because Microsoft owns the servers. Microsoft could come in and eavesdrop on you at any time. They could record your audio. They could see what you were doing in private. They could put all that stuff away. And even if you've signed the policies and forms, they could still use that in insider trading type stuff. So it'd be in your best interest to get some other application, like what Oculus is trying to work on, is this thing's Horizons or whatever, trying to come up with, possibly, even if you can, get your own devs, write your own VR client, come up with an open source server, put that server somewhere that nobody's going to get into it and eavesdrop, and then have your people come in and do what you're going to do, knowing fully secure that none of your company secrets are going to get out. And so what I'm doing is consulting to an extent, and I'm hoping that one of these guys are going to come in and say, yeah,